If you have ongoing exposure to controlling people, it's a virtual certainty that you're going to experience blurry boundaries, which is why I've created the extensive online course called This Is Me, Establishing Boundaries with the Controllers in Your Life. There's a link below that will give you all of the details, and I hope that you would find it therapeutic. I want to talk with you today about a characteristic that's a part of the world of narcissism that's its own form of gaslighting. And that's the characteristic of having a very charming and witty way about you as you engage with other individuals. Narcissists are experts at that. Now, sure enough, all of us are at some time or another going to want to try to put our best foot forward as we interact with other individuals, particularly when we're making first impressions or trying to get along with folks so that we can have all sorts of coordination. That's normal. But when we're talking about narcissists, they take it to an art form. They can have such a charm and such an appeal, but the difference between the narcissist and the healthy individual is their charm and appeal is short-lived. I've had so many people who have talked to me who will say, well, in the initial stages of engaging with that narcissist, it seemed as though everything was going to be okay, but after a while, and usually it's not a super long while, after a while it fell apart. Whether we're talking about friendships or romance or work settings or organizations, these individuals can come off as somebody that's your best friend, and they can be so witty and all the rest, only for you to feel later on like, ooh, I got burned. Now, part of the charm, there's so many dimensions to it, but part of the charm is they can be excellent conversationalists. They can make you think like you're the most important person in the room for a while. They can be seemingly interested in you and smile real pleasantly and make you smile. They're willing to show assistance and to be helpful. It's their way of saying, well, I just want to be a delightful person because that's just who I am. And they're masters at being able to live and act that way. They show themselves to be connected to the right people, and they want you to have the benefit of their good connections in the way that they engage with you. Come on, let me introduce you to these friends I have over here. They can make you feel as though you're such a prized person for them to get to know. Only later on do you find out it's just a setup. They're just trying to figure out what they can gain from being connected with you, but at the time you don't really know it. Narcissists in their charm can come across in a very self-confident kind of way, like, oh, I'm good. I'm really happy with who I am. I'm happy with my life, and I just want to share all of my goodness and pleasantness with you. Of course, they'll gloss over any kind of flaws that may show up or that you might have heard about. It's like, oh, that's no big deal. Let's not talk about that kind of stuff. These individuals at first can seem to be quite agreeable in the way that they engage with you. They can seem to be flattering, and they'll say all sorts of nice things. And one of the things they tend to do, which is kind of a pseudo empathy, they'll go into the mirroring style of communication. For example, if you say that you have a particular interest in a topic, they'll say, well, I have a very similar interest like that, or something like that happened to me too. And they can try to let it be known that they run parallel with you. It can give the feeling that they're empathizing, but that's not the same thing. They're not really into who you are. They're just trying to get an inroad win with you, but they can do it in that friendly and charming kind of way. Often, as you engage with these charmers, they can show a good sense of humor, and they can appear to be very approachable in the way that they engage with you. And so you can have your interactions with these narcissistic people thinking, well, what a nice situation this is. I'm so glad that I have run across this individual. Now, eventually, they can't keep it up. It's only going to last for so long because they have such an entitled, which translates into insecure, attitude that it's like, now I've got to make sure that you're giving me enough supply. And over time, your inhibitions may show up, or your limitations may become apparent. You have your own uniquenesses. You have your own needs that are going to be there, or it may be that you just have other kinds of things tugging at you in terms of time commitments. And so as your humanity catches up and the relationship can't be sustained in that fluffy and friendly and pleasant kind of way that they want it to be, they begin showing some of their colors. And this is when you begin seeing what's really behind the curtains with these individuals. A narcissist, once your humanity begins showing up, may think, hey, wait a minute, this isn't what I was bargaining for. How come you're not doing what I want you to do? Or they, over time, reveal that as they show kindness and friendliness and pleasantness, there are hooks on the backside. Now, what are you going to do for me? I've done all these nice things. I've been helpful and I assisted you in this. Don't you think you should give me something in reverse? And that becomes more and more of a centerpiece in the way that they engage with you. One of the things that ultimately will happen as they're pleasant and friendly, well, it sets up an expectation inside of you that they would be that way on a fairly consistent kind of basis. And so when you ask for, or you let it be known that you want some consistency in them, they interpret that as you trying to control them. It's like, what are you doing asking for me to do more of the stuff that I've already done? Haven't I done enough? You're just needy, or you're just controlling. You're just trying to tell me what to do. And it's like, no, I just kind of assumed that that's the way you were going to be, but that's not how they're going to interpret that. And you begin realizing this is all part of a ruse. They can protest to you once some of that glow has begun to fade. I can never please you. You're one of the most difficult people after all the nice things I've done for you. You're just never satisfied. And then they begin to show their emotional immaturity when it comes time to work your way through conflicts or differences or misguided kinds of actions that are inevitable in relationships. They can become angry and agitated and impatient, and they start holding a grudge. You begin realizing that so much of the way that they engage with people represents a deep, deep hunger for approval. They need you to say you're the best, which is why they do all that charming stuff to begin with. Then on top of it, as you have other commitments, let's say your kids come along and they have needs, or you have different plans, or other family members are tugging on you, then they're going to show themselves to be jealous. And over time, then they can start ghosting you. They can begin making devaluing comments about you. They can throw temper tantrums. They can start stonewalling you. They can disappear now that you've disappointed them. Oh, it's exhausting. And all of this is in the aftermath of them coming off originally as the nicest person you ever met, the most cooperative person you'll ever find. And you look back and it's like all of that was just the gaslighting that I mentioned. They were trying to get me into a form of reality that is not really reality. And then you'd look back and think, well, which way is up? It's like, yeah, that's the way I like for people to think. And as you look back on these narcissists who have this charming beginning in the way that they engage with you, you realize all of that charm and all of that wittiness is a weapon that they're using. I want you to let that thought soak in. It's like they're trying to conquer you. They're trying to bring you down so that they can be the superimposing kind of a person, because ultimately the charm is their way of implying, I want you to minimize what you are, and I want my magnanimous personality to be the only thing that's in the room. And so they're wanting to snuff you out. And it's kind of odd to think of it that way. And part of the problem that you can have as you engage with these people and you get pulled in is you so don't think that way. For you, if you're friendly, it just means, I don't know, I'm just being friendly. For a narcissist, if they're friendly, it's a means to an end. It's an inroad that they're trying to get so that they can have that narcissistic supply, because they need you to feed them, feed them, feed them. It's all about them being on the receiving end of whatever it is they think you have to offer. So the takeaway as we talk about this particular angle is that good character, as opposed to superficiality, requires a certain amount of time to be confirmed. You know, when people come across at least originally as good, that's nice, but we don't want to be seduced by it either. Over time, truth has a way of rising to the surface, and as you have differences and strains and difficulties, or change of plans and things like that, and that person is still available and helpful and kind and friendly, then it may be that you're onto something. Good character is built upon having consistency day in and day out, even with, or we might even say especially when there are divergencies that come along. Now, one final question that I want you to ponder, and that is, you might begin asking, if I get pulled in by this super charming, extra friendly kind of a person, might this reveal something about me? Do I have too much of a neediness to be tied to somebody and attached to someone that I ignored some of the red flags that might be there? And in all honesty, there are plenty of individuals that I've worked with in counseling will say, yeah, I did seem to ignore some of it because I always had a question about this and that, but I didn't really press it too much. Healthy relationships allow for assertiveness. It allows for those kinds of issues to be disclosed up front. And so if you do pick up on some things that in your gut just don't seem quite right, you don't want to just sit back and say, well, yeah, but the bottom line is they're so friendly. Talk about it. And if it's a potentially healthy relationship, that individual will certainly work it through with you in a very honest and self-disclosing kind of way. So, unfortunately, because of the nature of narcissism and the nature of humanity, what you see isn't always what you're going to get. So we have to have a certain kind of skepticism built into the way that we engage with each other. And notice, skepticism is not the same thing as cynicism. Skepticism means we're weighing things out carefully. And so in doing so, it's nice when somebody else shows some very positive and friendly and charming kinds of initiatives. But let's also remember, there's no such thing as an ideal person. And if that individual comes off as too ideal to the extent that they can't manage the real, then there's a good chance that you have a budding narcissist right on your hands. Be wary of what that might tell you. I do hope that videos such as this give you some good food for thought. If you've already done so, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell that goes with it, and we'll keep more videos coming your way. Many times when you deal with individuals like this, it prompts you to think that you could use some therapy, and don't we all need that at some time in our lives anyway? If you have a person in front of you and physically that's in your area that you could get therapy with, I would encourage you to do that. Or if you would prefer, we have a sponsor who could provide online therapy for you. There's a whole team of licensed professional therapists that you could select from that could help you out in that regard. And we have a link below that would carry you to that. In addition, we have my video courses. One is called This Is Me. It's about setting boundaries with these kind of individuals. The other is called Free to Be. It's about finding yourself despite the controllers, and many videos and written materials and questions that go along with it. It's meant to be a full-blown course. In addition, we have my books and other resources below. Okay, let's just underscore, narcissists are charmers at times, and they can put on the good act for a while. But keep in mind, you want to listen to your gut, you want to watch for the red flags and have that sense of healthy skepticism, because ultimately I'm hoping that in your steadiness and in your ability to maintain objectivity, it will position you to be a person who's able to live within a space of peace.